Hi, I'm David Watkins with Team Provision for 2024. This is my in the bag for this current year. Start putting putters this year. Just recently switched to rubber blend roaches. Putted with Lunas before, but they're kind of like a little overstable and like dump out more. So trying with some roaches for this year for a little more glide and like straight point and shoot at the basket. The rubber blend feeling is really nice, and I'm glad that they came with these since all the Lunas used to be rubber blend. They just feel more grippy and tackier. Seem to be good for the chain so far. For throwing putters, start with understable to more stable. For like understable to straight, super straight is a glitch. This one was dyed by my buddy Nick. Dyes a good amount of discs of mine that some are in the bag, some aren't in the bag anymore. But the glitch is great for warm-up shots and just trying to play catch with the basket from about 100 feet out or so. Give it a chance for the chains. Then one of my favorites recently has been the Watt from MVP. This one is super great. Can throw it hard straight. It'll go super dead straight for a long time. No dump at the end or anything. It'll hold nice anhyzers. It'll even hold a hyzer if you give it on a hyzer. Pretty much whatever line you put it on, it's going to stay on that line and go. Then for a little more stability, throw it out hard flat and then let it finish to the left, is a Crystal Glow Flex Ringer. Ledgestone run from 2021. I haven't found a better run of these. I have one backup, and it's my go-to. It's also nice for forehands, a little bit less stable than a zone. Will hold a nice anhyzer line on forehand for getting like out of the woods and stuff and around trees, but also great for both forehand and backhand. And then overstable throwers are zones. I have the longest one I've had in the bag, Crystal Flex. Little beat up, but still super reliable as always. Another Crystal Flex, a Ledgestone one. This one's really new, really stable. Kind of comes out if there's more headwind than I kind of trust with the other one, but they both are super stable in the wind. And then a more beat up one is a Jawbreaker one. This one's seen its days. It's got some lumps in it, but still has great low speed stability and has a finish at the end no matter what. But it's more kind of like an overstable mid-range at this point where it'll push out further before it starts to dump like the other ones. They'll dump out sooner. This one will kind of go straight for a little while and then get a finish at the end still. And it's great even in the winter with the Jawbreaker being super tacky and grippy for any of those throws. Next, I have 3 mid-ranges currently. Start from understable again. The new MVP Detour that just recently came out in the Gyropalooza boxes. Understable out of the box, but reliable understability, doesn't turn and burn, and can hyzer flip to flat and push straight. I like it for throwing flat and getting it to drift to the right the whole time, or even with some big anhyzer shots, it'll hold that line without cutting down and being way too understable. It's a manageable understable disc. Then one of my favorites to throw pretty much all the time, I like the super straight line shots, is a Metal Flake C-Line MD1, specifically the Mindbender version. I got 3 of these when they dropped, and I haven't liked another mid-range since I got this. The comfortable feel, super smooth, just throw it and it goes dead straight. Put on a little bit of ante, it'll just drift the entire time and never get a fade back. It'll just hold that line you put it on. But it'll also hold the hyzer line and just go wherever you want it to. Good amount of glide and everything. And then for more stable mid-range, outside of the zones that I kind of turn into like mid-range-ish, overstable mid-range shots, is a Lozado Hex from MVP. It's throw it out straight. It'll get a finish to the left. It'll hold hyzers. It'll hold anhyzers for a little bit, but then come out at the end and land flat almost every time. So that's about my range of mid-ranges. And for fairways, from most understable to most stable, is first one's a ESP Sting. I don't feel like I know most anyone that bags this. It's pretty unique, I feel. I've had it in the bag for probably my longest disc in the bag. I got it back in 2020 when I got more into disc golf again. I didn't have a forehand at the time, so I got a disc that I was like, this will go to the right. And it goes to the right every time. No matter how much hyzer it gets on, you put on it, if you throw it, it's going to flip up and drift off to the right side. So it comes in very handy on certain shots where you need to like push through a gap tight, but then finish and go to the right, where I just don't feel that confident in my forehand to get through a gap like that. Go with that. Then another super straight disc in the fairway side is a Discmania S-Line FD. Super straight, super glidey, holds pretty much any line you throw it on. You throw it flat, it's going straight. You throw it with anhyzer, it's going anhyzer the whole time. I really like it for like flip up hyzers. They got to push over to like push left, but flip initially and then go and glide. It flips up nice every time. Then for a more stable-ish run, I have a Discraft Athena. It is super reliable. Throw it out hard and flat, and it's going to push forward, and then get that finish at the end towards the basket. It'll hold an anhyzer still, though, but still come out and get a little flex to the left if you need it. And then my most stable one for fairways is a Big Z Raptor. Mainly use this for forehands, just comfortable. Can throw it on a little bit of anhyzer and get a small flex and go to the right. I can throw it on like spike hyzer forehands if I need to get around a corner or something. Just a little more stability than the Athena, more comfortable with the forehand to make sure I don't like overturn it and roll my wrist like I tend to do, and it helps correct that. Then kind of a middle ground of fairways to my distance drivers are my two Onyxes. This green one is the flippiest Onyx I think I've ever thrown. I can throw it on a bunch of hyzer and it's going to flip up to flat. If I throw it on a little bit of hyzer, it's going to flip up to flat and go off to the right side. It's pretty much turned into an understable disc, but it still is super reliable, super comfortable. It's my go-to for long, straight wooded shots. It's going to go straight almost every time. And then a backup for it that I'm trying to get to the flippiness that one is, just because of how unique of a flight it is this tannish one. It's still got some stability. Throw it flat, it'll get a finish to the left, but it's not crazy overstable, and it just has a bunch of glide. The Onyx's glide is probably my favorite. Then to all the distance drivers, what was my main distance driver initially is a Discraft Hades. It's super flippy, super glidey, get tons of distance on them. As I've started playing a little more, I have it to where this one turns into more just a big anhyzer shot. Anything that's got to go around trees and anhyzer, that's just way too far for my forehand distance. I'm going with the Hades. It's going to hold that anhyzer line the whole time, and by the time it's slowing down, it's going to get to flat so it doesn't cut roll anywhere. It lands nice and flat and lands to where I'm trying to throw it to. Then I have 3 Enigmas. From the one that's been in my bag the longest, was dyed by a buddy of mine. Super reliable, super flips up to flat and goes probably my furthest flyer. If put on anhyzer, it'll hold the anhyzer a decent amount, but not like the Hades. It'll come back at the end, but definitely just comfortable to like throw out flat. It'll get a drift to the right, but then come back to the left every time. Next one is my pink one. It's been in the bag a little bit less than the previous one. It's definitely way more stable than that one still. Throw it out flat, it's not going to go to the right, it's just going to push straight for a little bit and then get that finish to the left. And then the newest one of the bags, a freshly dyed one by my buddy Nick again. It's max weight one, replacement just to get in there and start beating it in this year, just for my stable Enigma run. And then a step up stability from the Enigmas are my Zeuses. The one I've had in the bag the longest, it was lost actually at one point for almost a year, and then someone down in Ohio found it after I lost it in the course in Michigan. But he thankfully beat it into a nice spot that I got it back, and it's been one of my favorites. If it's a little bit of headwind and the Enigmas are too flippy for the headwind, I'll go up to this Zeus. But this Zeus is actually super comfortable for a forehand distance driver, where I feel the Enigmas kind of just roll a little more than I want with the forehand. This one will push out flat for a while and then go off to the right and finish. But then I have this newer one, slightly newer ones, getting beat in like the other one, but it's got a little more of a dome. I prefer this one for backhand, and it's still pretty solid in the wind compared to most. And my final distance driver that is mainly for crazy headwinds is a Force. It's just my arm speed, my throwing preference, which is normally most of my shots are going to be a little bit of hyzer and try and flip them up just a bit. The Force, I just don't have the arm speed for that one yet, but it's super reliable in the wind for me. It's going to go left every time. It's solid for forehands too. If I definitely need to make sure it goes to the right, it'll get normally a nice skip too if needed. I use it for skip shots, like knifing hyzer and get a flare skip out of it. It works almost every time for me. And then the last bit of discs in my bag, I would call my utility discs. They're kind of like get out of jail. I hope to not need to use them in a round, but if I need them, they normally get me out of where I need to be. One is the flippiest disc in my bag is a Discraft X Avenger SS. Little did I know back in 2020 when I bought it as my main distance driver that within a year, 6 months, couple trees, it would be way too flippy for any of that, and it just flips up and goes to the right more than any disc I've ever thrown. But it has its unique abilities for shots that I didn't think I'd need it and that I don't have it in my bag because I was like, that's way too flippy. And then I come to a shot where I need that. Standstill, patent pending shots from the woods because you're in junk, you can throw it out there and even with no power, it's still going to flip up and get a good amount of distance. Use it for rollers occasionally. Rollers are not my strongest. I don't tend to use them much. Not confident and just haven't found like the right stability. Might try and work on that a little bit this year if I play more or when I play more and need it, but I feel like a lot of the courses locally that we play don't really call for it. We don't have a ton of golf courses in the area, but there are a few times where you go play those courses or when you travel and you get to play a cool course like that. Roller can come in handy, and I'd like to figure it out more with some more stability stuff, but right now this one will go out there and roll every time. And then one of the most unique discs I think that ever came out is a Discmania Tilt. Stable as can be. It goes left no matter what you do, but it has a very unique flight with that aspect for if you're stuck in woods and you have to force it out over the top, but you need it to go to the right back to the fairway, it's going to go back to the right side. If you need to throw like a spike hyzer over trees and you don't like to throw a grenade because it rips your thumb into pieces, I throw the Tilt. You can throw it as a spike hyzer and it's not going to go left and right, left like a grenade does, or right with an understable. It's going straight up and straight down to get out of any kind of jail that you may end up in. So Tilt is very unique, very versatile disc when you're in jail. So it'll always be in my bag, even though I don't throw it most rounds, but when I need it, it's always got me out. And that is about it for what's in my bag for this year. Other than that, there's a bunch of towels because we get a lot of rain in the spring, and it helps for all the sogginess that we deal with when playing in the spring and in the winter because we decide to play winter golf all the time. A disc retriever that comes in super handy with trees, water, rivers, ponds, all of that. But other than that, that's about all that stays in my bag. Water, room for water and snacks. But other than that, that's what I'll be throwing for this year. Thank you.